Jimthecarguy. All right, give me just 1 second. Got a lot of stuff we're going to talk about tonight. I see I've talked to a couple of people already tonight. Give me just 1 second. I want to just click on this real quick here. Okay. I'm actually, sorry, I'm just looking at the settings right here now because sometimes the picture is actually good. Sometimes the picture is not so good. But I'm looking and it's on the auto and the 720. All right. Well, I guess that's the best we're going to get it. Okay. All right. So welcome to another Sunday night here. I got a couple things we're going to talk about tonight. I was talking to my buddy Lon a little while ago, and Lon, I just want to bring out one thing to you. I didn't mention it to you while we were on the phone, but I just want to bring up something to you. I got to show you something. Just give me 1 second, and I will. Tonight, we're going to talk about tonight. I get a lot of emails asking me, how did I get started? Why did I get started? What kind of equipment did I use when I first started? I do have a lot of my my stuff here that I'm going to actually show you how I initially got started and what the incentive was for me to get started. Hey, Joe. Lon, thank you very much. All right, now I'm going to stop because Lon did something. Remember last 2 weeks ago, Lon, you said to me, "Here's $10, buy your dog something." Oh, let me show you this. This is what I bought my dogs. I have enough doggy treats here to last them at least a week. Now, I will say this. My one dog is down here. My other dog is right there. They heard their treats in the box rattling around, and they know exactly what it is. So one of them's smelling the box right now, and the other one is over there just waiting for their treat. So, Lon, thank you very much, and my dogs thank you as well. Keith, good to see you in there. How you doing tonight? Hope everything is well with you. Your family's doing good and everything. Well, we're going to talk about tonight how we got started. Let me just see what's going on here. Gerald, good to see you in there as well. Joe, I see you're in there. Karina, I see you're in here. All right, got a lot of my regulars here. I have those. My dogs love them. I actually, my dogs are so smart that you can't say the COOKIE word. You have to spell it because otherwise, if you say it, they'll come running in here for one of those. So usually I'll spell it because they're pretty smart. They already know they're going to get it. So Mrs. Jimthecarguy is probably going to give them some over there. But Lon, thank you very much, and my dogs thank you as well. And that's it. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about a couple things here tonight. Let me just go back and see what they got going on. Keith, thank you very much for answering that. I appreciate that. Thank you. It's just, it's as you know, it's a little difficult to answer, the questions here while I'm actually doing the show too. I do have some of my subscribers that actually ask me some questions online, which I do print out, and I will talk about those. But there's lots of things I want to cover tonight. And one of the first things that people ask me is that why and how did I get started on YouTube? There's lots of different reasons, but one of the reasons why I got started is a person that I know very well was doing some YouTube stuff herself, and she started doing the YouTube stuff, and she started doing some videos and everything. And I said, that was an incentive for me to stop procrastinating and to go ahead and actually do something. But in the beginning, you don't want to invest a lot of money into equipment because, as you know, cameras today, you're looking at $500 for a camera, and it's not cheap, So to get started, it is kind of expensive. But what I got started with is actually a very simple, basic camera, and I'm going to show you in a sequence of how I actually started. When I first started, this was the camera that I used to use to do the videos. at work. I would actually just sit it up on top of one of my machines while I was working, and I would work. Now this is actually pretty good, because when you're in a really tight spot and you need to get down to film what's going on, you can get this down in there so you can film it pretty good. But as you know, the quality of the video on this is really not that good. So this I used for a little bit. And back in those days, we didn't do a lot of views on the video, so it was very limited what we were getting. And dollar-wise, it wasn't really worthwhile spending a ton of money to actually get newer equipment. So that was the first camera I started with. That was the first one. Then I went to another camera, which I also had at home. It was this camera. The picture quality was a little bit better. And it did film a little bit better. It still was not that bulky, so it was actually fairly simple to film and to actually plug it in here. Or I should say, this one I think was different. This one I think had the small little piece that you could actually take out of it, plug it into your computer, and you could take the pictures from here, put them into your computer to edit it. Now, back in those days, I had this. I had a little scan disc. It was actually smaller. It was actually smaller than this one here. It was the little mini. So that was the one that I used in the beginning. And then we went from using this and actually taking the videos and putting them on here. This was still a very low quality. It wasn't really good. I think this one here was I think this one was 360, if I'm not mistaken, was the 360p. So, the quality in the video wasn't that good. And then one day, sorry, I'm just putting it down out of the way. Then one day, one of my subscribers, they said to me, you should invest in a better camera with better quality. And it's like, well, I'm not making a heck of a lot of money on the videos, and it doesn't really pay to invest that kind of money into the equipment. $500 when you're making very little, it's just not very, you're not making money, so you don't want to invest a ton of money. And with that, I decided that I was going to actually get a better camera. So what I did is I went out and I picked up this camera. This camera is good. It's a Canon. It actually has a very good picture. It has very good quality picture, and it's very basic, very simple to operate. It's really not that difficult. It's very simple controls on it. And that's what I wanted, something that wasn't really difficult to use and to use all the functions on it. So this seems to work very well for me, and I've had this for a long time. And I've also have a second one for the just in case, because if your camera dies, you got to have a backup system too. So I actually have two of the exact same cameras, because that way I can actually, all the features are exactly the same without a problem. What's good about this here is it actually has the card that you can pull out like this. And with this card, you can then, I'm going to put this camera down for a second. With this card, you can actually take the card, and my older computer, which was a Windows computer, I actually had a spot on the computer where I can actually plug this into, and I can take the videos from here and transfer it right to my computer. Well, now I have a Mac, and the Mac is a little bit different. The Mac, you have to have an adapter such as this to put your card in like this, and you plug it into the USB connector on the side, and then I take all the videos and I put them on the Mac computer for editing. In the when I have a chance to edit the videos and actually put them up. So that is what I'm using currently. Is this one. What's good about this too is it has the zoom that's on it, so you can zoom up and see it. And again, it's, like I said, it's a 1080p, so the quality is actually really good with this one. Now, I will tell you this. I got when I first got that camera, one of my subscribers, they sent me an email and they said, the other camera you used, there was a 360, that the quality of the picture was not that good. But now that you use the 1080 is really a very good quality. And he says, I forgot exactly how he worded it, but it was something to the effect where, when they went with the high definition cameras on TV, they used to have makeup on to cover all of the wrinkles and such as that. And I says to the guy, I said, if you think I'm going to wear makeup to cover up these wrinkles, forget about it. That's not going to happen. All right, so that's the cameras. That's the one camera. This is my backup camera. This has a really large battery, so this has a very long life on the battery. So this is my my secondary or my backup. One of them I do keep at work all the time, and the other one I keep at home most of the time. Because if I do something at home, and then I have the other channel going too, the Get It Done home repair channel, I use that as well at home too. Now also you'll need a lot of other accessories to go with it. We have actually quite a few of the memory cards that we have with it. A lot of times I'll be at work and I'll be doing something at work and I'll need to bring it home to actually bring it home to put it onto my other computer, and that's where my memory stick from one of my favorite companies, Monroe. I can actually take the stuff from work, put it on here, bring it home, and finish it up at home. So that's the other thing that I use all the time at work and bring it here at home. Let me just put this away. Okay. Very important. The lens of the camera gets dirty all the time. Being in the shop environment, it gets dirty very quickly. I remember I was doing a video not long ago, and I was doing the editing on it, and I didn't even realize that there was a smudge. And where do you think the smudge always is? Right dead center of the camera. So I always have this wherever my travel bag is for my camera. That's where I keep everything. This is where I have my bag of everything that I need inside of it. All my adapters, all my connectors, everything goes inside this bag. So I actually, wherever I am, the bag is with me. And like I said, at home, I have my backup camera that I use for doing the home stuff. Now at work, when I first started with the smaller cameras, I used to just prop them up against whatever and just shoot the video like that. Now we actually have the tripod, and the thing that's good about the tripod is it goes up and down. You can tilt it left and right. You can lengthen it to whatever length you need. So the tripod does come in very handy. I have one here at home. I also have another one at work. As you can imagine, the one at work is extremely dirty, so that doesn't make it to my house because no matter how you try to clean it, it's always dirty. The next thing I have is a very small little tripod like this, because if I'm working up under the hood of a vehicle, and sometimes that's a little this big tripod is a little difficult to get in there, I'll stick this tripod with the camera on it. You twist the legs whatever way you need it. It goes into the camera like this, and then you can set up your camera wherever you need to, like that, to actually film wherever you need to. And then, of course, you can tilt it any way you need to. This one is not as good as obviously as the larger one, because the larger one has a lot more maneuverability and angles and curves and all that kind of stuff that you can do to it. So that is my just in case. I think I've used this maybe a dozen times. I really don't use this very often, but that's that. What else do I have? I got, for when I'm doing editing, and Mrs. Jimthecarguy and I are in the back living room watching TV or whatever. I make sure I have my headphones so I can actually listen to what's going on and do my editing on my computer. Like I said, the computer, I started out with it was a Windows Movie Maker. It was actually, I think it was a Dell computer I was using, and I don't have that any longer. That's no longer used. But that, and there's probably a lot of you people know this too, but I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. Karina, thank you very much. But I'm going to tell everybody. Karina was my inspiration. She's the one that got me inspired to do YouTube. So if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here, and you guys wouldn't be looking at me and my rabbit back over here, because I know you guys miss my rabbit. I actually talked to somebody earlier, and they were saying that exactly is what happened to my rabbit that I had back in there. Like I told everybody, as I was actually just screwing with somebody Because I think it was Chris that actually brought it up. It's like, what happened to your rabbit? Where is he? But I was actually just screwing one of my subscribers. She was actually saying the picture's crooked. So what I did is in some of the videos, I actually tilted it a little bit more to make it more crooked. And then in one of the videos, I just took it away. So just to break her chops. So, but Karina was my inspiration. That's why I'm sitting here. And that's why you guys are actually watching me now, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here right now doing the YouTube stuff. So, okay, what was I up to? Telling you about that gear. And I'm going to tell you this. You guys know that I actually do a lot of videos. I've been doing it for a while, so I have a lot of videos that I've posted. But I just want to show you because somebody I was talking to. They said, I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay. One of my friends on here was saying, about the videos. Do I film them as they happen? Do I put them up as they happen? No. A lot of times the video was actually, it may have been filmed 6 months, a year ago, maybe who knows when it was filmed, because what I do is I actually have these. These are actually the external drives, like the Jimthecarguy stickers. These are my videos that are actually posted. These are actually, I think, what they call terabytes. They're 1 terabyte each, and you know how many videos can be on here. You probably have posted videos. I'll bet you there's 500 posted videos on each one of these external drives. Now, I will tell you this. You see these two? These two are not edited yet. These are actually 2 terabytes of information or videos that I filmed, and I haven't had a chance to edit them yet. So I do write on them just so I can keep track of which one is which without having to plug it into my computer to see. But I have 2 terabytes of external drive on my externals that are actually videos that I still need to post. Not to mention I've got these still ready to be posted and whatever is in my camera. So there's a lot of stuff that I have in there that I actually have to go through and post. But that's pretty much it. Now, obviously, I do have a lot of lighting. My lights at work stay at work. I have it's like, I don't know what you would call it, but it's like a Christmas tree light. It's actually 3 lights on a stand that actually light up the work area where I'm working. Plus, you guys know that I have those OTC lights. They actually work really well as well. But those lights, they stay at work because they're all greasy and dirty, and those kind of lights don't make it to the house here because nothing in the house here is greasy and dirty. Everything like that stays down at the shop. So, but that's it. That's how I got started, and that's why I got started. And but now I was going to tell you about this too, and a lot of you might even know it. I used to use a Dell computer, which is the Windows movie maker. It comes with the camera, with the computer. It's the Windows movie maker. Now, when you do the Windows movie maker, when you film a video, and in the beginning of my videos, which you're going to see change now, I might add. In the beginning of my videos, you see that spinning logo for Jimthecarguy comes in as it comes spinning into the video. That's actually from one of these companies that you get it online, and it's printed up for you. But that quality of that is very low. That's only 360p. Now, when you have a Mac computer, when you take the clips and you put the clips onto your computer, onto your storyboard, as they call it, when you put it onto the storyboard and you keep it in the on your computer, I didn't know this because I'll back up a little bit. One day I was actually editing a video and I go to put it up and I'm thinking, damn, that's a pretty poor quality. The quality of the video is really not that good. It's a little bit blurry. You can't see the wrinkles in my face. And I'm thinking, something's not right. So I went back and I actually clicked on the video to check to see what it was. And it was actually recording the entire video. I think it said either 360 or 480. I don't recall what it was. But that's what it was recording it at. It wasn't recording it in HD. HD, as you know, it's 1080, and I think the other is 720. Yeah, 720 720 is actually high definition, and the 1080 is even higher definition. But what happens is when you take a clip and you put a clip in there, the first thing on your storyboard, you put up that logo, that spinning logo. You take that spinning logo and put it on a Mac computer, and that's your first clip. Everything else behind it that comes in, even though it's coming in as a 1080, the movie maker on the Mac computer picks up that first clip, and that is how the entire video is recorded. Instead of being recorded in 1080, which is what the video was recorded in, it actually picks up the first clip, which was 360, and the 360, the whole video is recorded in 360, and there's no way to change the video. Like when you have your screen on, and down there you have a small little gear on the bottom. When you click on that gear, you can't even adjust it up to 1080. You can only do it at whatever that first clip was at 360. So on the videos from this point forward, I'm going to probably take out that spinning logo of Jim the Car Guy, because it's reducing the quality of the video down to a lower, I think it's a 360 or something like that. So it's a very poor quality. All right, so enough talk about that. We talked about the external drives, but now my primary computer that I use for editing videos is no longer the Windows Movie Maker. Now what I do is I actually have the Mac that I do the videos on the Mac. So that's why what I'm using right now. So the Mac is just a little bit easier to work. The Windows Movie Maker is a little bit trickier. It's a little easier on the Mac. So that's the one I use, and that brings us up to present day. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to see what's going on here. I see a lot of talking in here. Let me see. I see my buddy Gerald is in here. I just want to go back and see what was going on here. All right, let's see. All right, Chris on vacation. Oh, okay. No, Keith, I'm sorry. Chris said, okay. Ah, very nice. Very nice, Keith. The Kalahari is a really big place up there, too. I think there's one up in Pennsylvania someplace. Okay, what are your experience with rubberized undercoating as a protectant against rust? I'm guessing, Scott, you probably saw Eric's video about the Z-Bart. It's a little bit different down where I am, because the rust up by the salt and then all of the elements up there that contribute to the rusting is a little bit different than where I am. But sorry, I'm just reading something else. But I know that there is a problem up there with it. Have I seen it down here? Not that much, because believe it or not, most people down here don't Z-bar or undercoat their vehicles. Most of the time down here, it's the majority of the people down here, they usually don't keep their vehicle for a long period of time. Up north, it builds up a lot of rust and all that stuff underneath there. Down here is really not that bad, and I don't really see Z-bar. But I will tell you this, going back probably, I'm going to guess about 2 years ago, I had one of my customers calls me up and he says to me, am I interested in purchasing his car? He wanted to sell it. And I said, yeah. So I'm interested. I said, but I haven't seen the car in a long time. He says, yeah, I've had it parked for probably 7 or 8 years, and I haven't used the car. It's just sitting in my yard. And I said to him, well, where is it in your yard? Is it on the driveway, or is it on the blacktop, or is it on dirt? And he said, no. He said, it's parked in the dirt parking lot in the back. And I said, no, I appreciate the offer. I said, but I'm really not interested, because if the car has been sitting on top of dirt or any kind of if it's not cement, if it's dirt, if it's sand, if it's any kind of grass or anything like that, the amount of moisture going up underneath that car causes everything underneath there to start to corrode and start to rot away. So I said, thanks. I said, no, thank you. I'm not interested. So then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. When it pops into my head, this car was a Stealth. The Dodge Stealth. It was a beautiful car. It was the pearl white, twin turbos. It was a really, really nice car, but it's been sitting for a long time. So I said, thank you, but no thank you. And then it dawns on me, when he first bought the vehicle, I undercoated that car. And when I undercoated the car, it came from the factory already undercoated, but he wanted to have it undercoated as well. So I did the undercoating myself. I didn't do it with the big commercial spray thing. I just got the undercoating, and I sprayed the whole bottom of the car underneath there with this undercoating. So that's what dawned on me I'm thinking about it after I hung up the phone with him. I'm thinking, I undercoated that car, whatever, when he first got the car. I think it was an 82 or something like that, whatever it was. And I said, I'm going to take a gamble. I said, let me go take a look at the car, and I'll see what it looks like. So I go up and I look at it, and sure enough, it's parked in the back of his lot, and the tires are all flat, as you can imagine, from sitting for 8 to 10 years. All the tires are all dry rotted and cracked, not even drivable, because they were totally all four flats. And I'm thinking, I'm going to take a gamble on it, because I know I undercoated, and I know that I got into every nook and cranny underneath there with it. So I said, let me get the car back to the shop, and I'll take a look at it. So I said to the guy, whatever, we worked out the numbers on the car, and I wound up buying the car from him. It had a broken window, but the car only had 17,000 original miles on it, and it was a stick, I might add, too. So I said, let me take a gamble, and I'll buy the car. So I get the car towed back down to the shop. I get the car up on the lift, lifted up on the lift, before I did anything to the vehicle. I wanted to make sure that it hadn't rotted away underneath there, because as you know, the brake lines are going to rot away, the clutch lines are all going to rot away. Everything underneath there that's made of metal is going to be rusty. So I lift the car up, I take a look underneath the bottom of it, and sure enough, the bottom of the car was perfectly undercoated, and there was no rust underneath there. So the undercoating I used, it actually worked really well, and I wound up buying the car, fixing it, and got rid of the car and sold it to a collector, someplace up in Maine. Actually, the guy bought the car from. So my point is, I don't know about the undercoating, how good or how bad it is, but for me, that undercoating, it worked pretty good, for when I did it myself. All right, let's see what's going on up over here. Let's see. They should make all cars stainless steel. You're right. Yeah. Could you imagine the cost of stainless steel? You remember years ago, stainless steel would be great. Remember years ago, everything was made of just metal, and it would just rot away. The exhaust systems would rot away. We do so many exhaust systems that the salt would get up underneath there and just corrode them away. You put an exhaust on it, inside of 2 or 3 years down the road, the muffler would be rotted out, or the pipes would be rotted out. Today, the cars coming through today, very rarely are you doing exhaust systems on them. Today, the cars are all made of stainless. They don't rot out. The exhaust systems, they don't rot out like all the cars of years ago. Years ago, they rotted out all the time, but not anymore. We used to do exhaust systems probably, a dozen a week. We do exhaust systems. Today, the only time you do an exhaust system is if the flex pipe up in the front rots away and it starts to leak or whatever, and then you'll wind up, replacing the exhaust. But most of the time, the muffler itself or the pipes, they don't rot out like they used to anymore. All right, let's see what we got going on here. I'm going to just go back so I can see what guys were talking about. Like I said, I see my buddy Gerald is in here. Rubberized undercoating. But I know, getting back to Scott, I know Eric had a big problem up there with the undercoating, how it contributed to the actual rusting of the vehicle. That salt just gets into everything. If you have a small little open area and that salt gets in there, it's going to rain havoc on you. Like I don't know how Eric does it up there, because I look at some of the jobs he does up there, and it's so rusted that, bolts are not even broken off. They actually rotted off, that, and as anybody knows, getting out of rotted bolts, they can be really, really difficult. So I give him a lot of credit having to deal with that up there. Down here, we kind of get spoiled because it's not as bad as up there. All right, what do we got going on here? Make them out of stainless. Gerald Jim got a big timing chain job coming up. I'll wear your shirt and endorse your channel as well. I appreciate that, Gerald. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody who subscribes, I appreciate the business. Now, you know what? While I'm talking to you guys, I got a bunch of stuff that was sent to me by some of my some of the the people that want me to unbox stuff on the videos and stuff like that. I have no need for a lot of that stuff. So if anybody has a real need for anything, you know what, I'm going to go through and see what I got. And if anybody has any real need for it, I'll be more than happy to pass it on to you. I was going to actually do a giveaway type thing, but when I started reading all of the guidelines that they have for giveaways and stuff like that, it's very there's a lot of little loopholes in there, and there's a lot to do, and you have to have an outside company and all that kind of stuff. So I know I have a couple of let me just think. I got some lights that you can actually connect up to your vehicle, like big fog light type things. I got a couple of headlights, the LED headlights. I think I got I don't even know what numbers I have. I got a bunch of them here in my garage at home. I'll take a look through the stuff I have. I'll tell you guys next week what I have in there. And if anybody has a need for it, or you really need it, let me know. I'll send you the stuff, because it's just going to sit in my garage until one day I trip over it or whatever, and I throw it in the garbage can. So if anybody has a need for it, let me know. I think there was, you know what? I think I have two of them, and two things in there. Two code readers. They actually plug into the computer connector onto the dashboard, and it transmits the codes wirelessly to your phone or to your computer. So I have that, but I'll go through everything. I'll tell you what I have and what I'm going to give away. A couple of things I actually do like that I'm actually going to keep, like that one booster pack, the one that uses that where it doesn't have batteries in, it has the super capacitors that they use. That one I do like. So that one is actually in the trunk of my car. I think I have an air pump that I also have in my car, which you saw me do one of those videos too. I put it in actually Mrs. Jimthecarguy's trunk, because me, if I get a flat, I just change it. But this way here, she'll have it in the car just in case. Now I do have another one. It was actually I did a video. I actually showed it to you last week. It was sent to me by one of the companies that wanted me to show the tool to my subscribers. And that one is a cordless inflator for inflating tires. I will probably do a video on that. Maybe I'll do a video here at home in my driveway showing you how it works on a flat tire. Don't tell Mrs. Jim the car guy, but maybe I'll flatten her tire and I'll get to go outside and fill it up just so I can show you how it works. But I still got that one sitting here. I have a code reader that I'm going to actually show you too. I got some LED lights that I'm actually going to do in my garage here at home. I'll put them up underneath the bottom. We'll see how bright the lights are and if I can use them in the shop. Now in my garage here, and one day I'll take you in the garage here and I'll show you what it looks like in the garage here. But over my workbench here at home, I have a fluorescent light that sits over the top of it. So I may not need these LEDs, but we'll see how that goes. But I'll give you an idea next week of all the stuff that I have. And anybody who has a use for it is more than welcome to have it. You just give me your address and I'll mail it to you. Let me just see what we got going on here. Gerald, thank you. I do appreciate you wearing my shirt. So, and any advertising I can get, that's perfect. Winter in Ohio is supposed to be bad this year. What do you suggest that I do to prepare my car for the winter? This is V. Davis, one of my subscribers, asked me that question. The most important thing with the winter coming, the most important thing is you want to check your battery. As you know, your battery, even though it's 70 or 80 degrees outside and you turn the key and boom, it fires right up. What I do on my own cars is a little bit different. What I do is on a new car, 3 years, no matter what, after 3 years, I take that battery out, throw it away, and I put in a new 5-year interstate battery, because the interstate battery will last you 5 years, where the original factory battery will only last you 3. First thing I would do, and I do this even leading into the winter now on my own cars, I definitely would if the battery is more than 3 years old, replace it. If it's a replacement battery and it's a good quality battery, such as the Interstate, that'll last you 5 years. Now, what happens with a battery? When you have a battery that's 80 degrees outside and you try to start the vehicle, if the battery, say, is a 600 cold cranking amps, which means that when you try to start your car, it's going to give 600 or thereabouts 600 cold cranking amps to the starter to crank the starter over. The thing is that when you go at 80 degrees, that's perfect. The batteries love that temperature. Everything is really perfect. The starter loves it. All the wire, everything is perfect. But you bring that temperature down to 5 degrees or 10 degrees or even 0 and below. That battery that was 100% charged up at 80 degrees, you take a 100% charged up battery at 80 degrees and you can lose at least half, if not more, of the cranking amps because of the cold. As you know, cold is a real killer. Cold and heat kill a battery. So the first thing I would check, the battery. Make sure your battery is absolutely perfect. The second thing I would do is make sure that you have your antifreeze is been either replaced at a regular interval, or make sure that the antifreeze is good, because the worst thing you can possibly do is have antifreeze that's not good and you have a freeze up. That can be really catastrophic. Next thing you want to do is you want to check your tires. You want to make sure that you have adequate threads on your tires. If you don't have adequate threads on your tires, when you drive your car, snow, ice, water, anything goes into those threads. When it goes into the threads of the tire itself still grips the road and you can still drive. But when you have a tire that's almost bald, or very little threads left on the tire, instead of the tire biting down and going into the snow or the rain or whatever, it's gonna stay right on top of it, and you're gonna tend to slide a little bit. So make sure your battery's good, make sure that your tires are good, make sure that your antifreeze is good, and the last thing you want to do is make sure your windshield wiper blades are in good shape as well. They do sell lots of different kinds of blades out there. The older style blades that had all the metal showing on it, that's a little bit rough because they get ice inside those areas, and it causes a streaking on the window. They sell a winter blade if you have that older style blade. They sell a winter blade that actually has a rubber covering over it to keep that ice from building up inside the wiper blade itself. Or if you have the contours or the beam blades, you don't have to worry about it because they really don't build up the ice like the older style blades. But that's it. Those are the most important things to get through the winter without a problem. But even if you think the battery is borderline, replace it. The worst thing you can do is come out of work and it's 0 degrees out there, get in your car and you turn the key and you hear and it don't start. That's the worst thing. So make sure you change it before that happens. All right. Actually, because all right, B. Davis parking in the garage. Yeah, there's certain places, like I know somebody who was actually going from New Jersey and they were heading out to Salt Lake City, and what they had to do is they had taken the northern route to go up there. And there's certain places up there when you drive through I'm thinking of some place in the Dakotas, but I'm not positive exactly. When you park your car, and if you don't plug that car in at night, it's not going to start because the cold drops down so cold that you will not be able to start your car. So those heaters actually work pretty good. Obviously, we have a garage, that's even better. But they actually sell a heater that cars have, and you'll see a lot of the cars have them when you get out to the Midwest out there, or to the northern part out there. A lot of the cars have heaters in the engine itself, that when you plug it in, it has a little heater in there that keeps the engine warmed up. It plugs into where the freeze out plug is located. It actually goes in there and it keeps it nice and warm. My tow truck was like that. I used to have a Ford diesel, and when you park that thing outside in the wintertime and it started up, it would run horribly. But if you had it plugged in and everything was warm, you start it up, and inside of like 30 seconds, you had warm air coming out. It would keep everything nice and warm. All right, so yeah, undercoating is pretty good. As Ron says, he loves undercoating. Let's see what we got going on here. Just going to go back a little bit to see where I touched it, and all of a sudden it jumped way ahead. All right. A couple of people from Ohio I see talking back and forth. My buddy Lon is taking care of business there. Good job. Thank you. I appreciate it, Lon. Sometimes I just can't get to some of the questions. Jim, don't look back. That picture, the bunny just moved. Really? Maybe Mrs. Jimthecarguy just screwing with me too. All right. I had an 82. Okay. Too many. I live so far south. I don't have to worry about any rust there. That's the good thing about Texas, Gerald. You don't have to worry about that. Antifreeze, battery, and oil changes. That's it. I had to replace my catalytic converter, and my mechanic. Oh, Nat says I have to replace my catalytic converter, and my mechanic moved back to Portugal. Nat, I think you have my cell phone number too. You can give me a call. I don't have my phone with me. I left it back with Mrs. Jimthecarguy, but I think Nat, I think I have your phone number or something. Give me a call whenever you want, and we can talk about that if you really have to have it changed. A friend of mine, God, there's an active one. All right. So a mechanic went home for health care of his son. Okay. Well, you know what? Your family is the most important thing. And you guys know that a lot of stuff has been going on in my life. I've had a lot of sickness and a lot of death in my family. And you really, just see who said this. This is my buddy Nat said this. He says, my mechanic went home for health care for his son. What my opinion, and I guess everybody has a difference of opinion, but this is my opinion. Your health and your family really is everything, and the most important thing in your life. That should be your family and your health. A lot of people may not agree with it, but being on this end and the last couple of years, a lot of stuff going bad with my parents. It was actually a very sad couple of years. So having your health is actually very important, and having your family is very important too. All right, I just touched it again. All of a sudden, it jumped way ahead. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think it's probably my fat fingers. Okay, just keep on going. That's pretty far away. I've been there. Ron says that's pretty far away. I've been there, and I certainly like it in the USA better. Never been there myself. Been to lots of different places, but never there. I think the furthest I was, well, that's there. I was in Germany a couple of times. That was really nice there. It was beautiful there, actually. The thing I like about Germany too, and any place over in Europe, is that the historical significance that everything has on it. We're here in the United States, everything is pretty much knocked down. Over there, a lot of stuff still remains as it was. I remember being in Germany and going to some of the castles dating back to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years. It's just unbelievable. I remember going to this one town over there, and you guys can check it out on I'll go to Google it. Actually, it was called Rothenburg in Germany. That was actually pretty neat. It's like stepping back into the medieval times. A wall around the entire city. The entire city is cut off by a wall, and there's little openings in the gates to actually get into the city. And the wall is probably going to be, I'm going to say 30, 40, 50 feet high. I don't remember exactly, but it's got to be probably 40 or 50 feet high with like the thing around the top where somebody could come around it. And what they were telling me back there is that what they used to do, and I don't know if this is true, or they were just making it up for the tour that we were actually doing. But back in those days, they said that when it got dark, everybody had to be back within the town. And if you didn't come back into the town, you could still get into the town. You can come to the door and you could bang on the door. And what they did is back in those days, and this could just be I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they said. They said that they had these big doors that they used to close down, and you couldn't get through them. They were solid wood. You couldn't get through them, but it had a very small door in there, and the small door was only maybe 3 feet high, and it was about a foot and a half, 2 feet off the ground, this door. So it looked like a window, sort of. And what they had to do is that they opened up the door, and anybody who was out there could then come in. And what they said and this, like I said, it could just be BS. I don't really know, but they said that the reason that the step was up a foot and a half or 2 feet off the ground, and the top was very low, it gave you that little tiny window of like a 3 foot area to get through. The reason that they did that is because they said that if there was an invader coming in and they had to open the door to let them in, what they would do is they'd have to step in with 1 foot and duck their head underneath the opening to get into the gated area there. And if it wasn't somebody who lived there, they had the guy there with the big blade to actually take care of any intruders who didn't belong there, was trying to come in. When they duck their head underneath to get in, they lose their you know what. I don't know if it's true, but that was in Rothenburg. It was a pretty neat place. It was like going back into the medieval days. So that was really nice. So, all right, enough of that talking about vacation stuff. What else we got going on? I'm going to go back a little further, slip sliding away. Good quality blades. Yep, good quality blades. Very important. Don't buy the cheap 99-cent blades that you can find on the computer, because you'll put them on there and the blade will go back and forth twice and the blade will be no good. Buy a good quality blade and it should last you a long time. Will it get you through the whole winter? Probably not, depending on the ice. All right. Now I'm going to give you this little tidbit of advice too, because this happens every year at my shop. It happens all the time. Well, in the beginning of the season, it happens. I get somebody coming in and we have a real heavy rain that freezes, and then the windows get iced up and everything, and it never fails. Within the next couple of days, I'll get somebody coming in with a burnt out windshield wiper motor. When you have a remote start in your car, make sure that you turn your windshield wipers off. When you park your car, you drive up and you park your car and you shut it off, don't just shut it off with the windshield wipers going. This happens all the time, because what happens is the water gets on the window. Obviously, overnight it freezes. When it freezes, the windshield wipers get frozen to the window. When the wipers get frozen to the window, you start the car up remotely from your house to warm the car up. And lo and behold, when you come out, you turn your windshield wipers on and they won't turn on, because what happened is the windshield wipers were frozen to the window. And when you turned on, or frozen in ice or snow or whatever, and then when you turn the vehicle on, the wipers are trying to move, but they can't move because they're frozen to the window. So if you have a remote start and you park your car, make sure you turn your windshield wipers off so they go into their recessed position, so you don't have any freeze ups and you don't burn up your motor. I get it probably every year. I get maybe 1 or 2 of them in the beginning of the season that always burn up their motors. All right, good quality blades. Great song. Just buy a Uniblade. The Uniblade is the one I'm talking about. And then Lon, you know what I'm talking about too, is the what they call the contours or the beam blades. They never get iced up. Those things, they are great. Lon Willis says, my 99 Civic ate the fuel pump because of a bad battery. Yep. Definitely. And what I see happen all the time, and this is just my personal opinion as well, any time of the year, never run your gas tank down to bone dry. If you run your tank down to bone, especially in the summertime, your fuel pump is going to overheat and you're going to burn up your fuel pump. So always make sure you have at least 1/4 of a tank of fuel in your car. And that's just because Ron mentioned about the fuel pump. So always make sure you have fuel in there. Ron says, Jimthecarguy rocks. Thanks, Ron. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dad used to use a work light with a regular bulb. That was rough back then. I tell you, I can't tell you how many times, and Lon, you probably remember this too. Back then, that's all it was. You only had the regular light bulb, and you had a 60-watt or a 75-watt bulb in the drop light, and the drop lights were always made of metal. never fails. You get up underneath the dashboard and you're working under the dashboard and you're trying to see with your light, because they didn't have, like they do today, the LEDs and all that kind of stuff. You're up underneath there working, you got your hands in there, and the light would fall and it would either hit you in the neck, hit you on the arm, and a split second you wound up, we used to call it a tattoo, because it would actually burn. As soon as it touched you, you'd wind up, burning wherever it touched. So yeah, those lights were really a pain in the rear end. Long Trail Slide says, do you know of any TSBs on 99 Camry EVAP 446 smoked 3 times and changed a 3-way VSV, no leaks? There was a problem with those Camrys. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look through and see, because I did run into a problem with this one time, and I don't think it was a 99. I think it was I'm thinking it was a 97 or a 98. There's actually down on the right side, underneath the vehicle by where the axle would be, where it comes through right there. There's a vacuum switch underneath there. That vacuum switch goes bad all the time. Not only does the switch go bad, you'll go up underneath there and you'll find that there's the rubber hoses that actually come across there. Those rubber hoses rot out all the time. So take a look on that side there. There's that little switch underneath there. It goes bad all the time. From what I recall, there's one 10-millimeter bolt that holds it in place. Okay, what do we got going on? Oh, man, I touched it and it just jumped ahead again. Let me just go back over here and see what I got going on. Vinny Lalo, good to see you. I just talked to you a little while ago. Right after I talked to Lon, I did talk to Vinny as well. Jim took the Uniblade wipers off my cat, and regular blades worked better. Yeah, sometimes those, me personally, I do like the Uniblades better because they seem to work really well. But it depends on the quality of the blades too. I mean, there's lots of different ones out there that are really horrible. Now, this has nothing to do with that, but I'm going to tell you this too. A little bit of information for you as well. When you see when you go into the auto parts stores and they have those dual blades, they're supposed to clean the window perfectly, clean off any kind of water or any kind of snow or anything like that on there. Don't use them, because those dual blades put extra load on the windshield wiper motor, and you will prematurely burn out your motor. So don't use the, oh wait, what Uniblades? 2-blade wipers. Yeah, that's actually what I'm just talking about now. Don't ever use the 2-blade wipers, because those 2-blade wipers will destroy your windshield wiper motor. That's probably what Vinny was talking about. I didn't understand it. Jim took off the Uniblade wipers off mine, and the regular blades work better. Yep. Okay, so now I understand what Vinny was saying. Vinny was saying about the dual blades. When you have the dual blades on there, don't use it. It's horrible. It causes more drag on the window, and therefore it increases the likelihood of the motor burning out. Yeah, 2 days of 20 degrees all winter. Wow, that's it, huh? Wow, I wish we could say the same up here. The worst thing up here is that you'll get all that any kind of snow or whatever comes down, or when the snow comes down, it all melts and it turns to slush. All that slush gets up underneath the car, and you bring it into the shop. You have the heat on, and all that slush up underneath there is dripping down your back and everything. What I do at the shop before I get a car on the lift, because I hate when it runs down your neck and all over you. It's horrible. What I'll do is, before I get the car onto the lift, I'll bring the car into the shop, park it into a spot that's actually as a drain right there, and I'll let the car sit there for a little bit so that everything falls off of it, so that the big chunks of ice at least don't come crashing down on you and cause a problem with all that water and salt and everything else running down there. Let's see. Let me just see what else we got going on. Okay. No RTV. So I'm guessing Bill's talking to somebody. Okay, here we go. Let me go back up a little bit here. Bill says, should I use RTV instead of rubber gasket when changing my oil pan? Yeah, the RTV is actually, when you actually get the oil pan, you can actually get the sealer for it. It is RTV. What I like to use versus that is actually, it's called the right stuff. It's a very, very, it's a thicker type silicone that when it goes on there, it seals it really good. So you won't have any problem with it. It's actually called the right stuff, and it works really good. I see here that Chris says use the gasket if it has one. Yes, absolutely. If you're right, Chris. Let me just clarify that for Bill. If you have a gasket, if you can buy a gasket and put a gasket on there, by all means use the gasket. If you can get a gasket, sometimes on like the Hondas and stuff like that, you can't get a gasket where you have to use the RTV. That's the sealer that you have to use. But if there's a gasket available, that's the thing you always want to use is the gasket first. I will tell you this, if you are putting on a gasket on the pan, do not use silicone on there and don't use any RTV or anything like that. With those gaskets, you want to put them on dry. The problem you run into when you have a rubber gasket and you're putting a rubber gasket up there and you put the silicone on it, the silicone sealer, you put the silicone on there and when you tighten up the bolts, as the bolts tighten up, you will actually see the gasket push out. I've seen it happen many, many times where somebody has done it and the customer comes into me and it's leaking oil. And sure enough, you look up and the oil pan is new, the gasket is new. But what happened is when they tightened it up and they had the silicone on there, the gasket actually pushes out sideways because silicone, as you know, is very slippery and it pushes the gasket right out through the side. So if you can get a gasket, use it. And if you do get a gasket, put it on dry. Don't use any kind of RTV or any kind of silicone on there at all. All right, let me just go back over here. Yep, Gerald's done. You tighten the bolts from the center and work towards it, and it's true. You can always look it up online. It'll show you where the actual sequence would be to work from one side, working your way out. You want to start in the middle and work your way towards the ends. Okay, Zachary, I missed part of the stream. Oh, maybe you're right. Okay, you know what? I probably have it in here. I think I did a lot of talking here. And let me just see. Okay, Zachary, I don't have the question. So let me see what you got here. How long can I expect my timing chain to last on the 2006 Scion? A chain itself, usually a chain will not go bad. If you have a belt on there, a timing belt, those do go bad all the time. But usually the timing chain itself there is no interval to replace it. So that's nothing you really have to worry about. I will tell you this, I had customers come in with timing chains on their vehicles and they got 250, 300,000 miles on it and it's all original. So they usually don't wear out that quickly. I will tell you this, that's a Scion, but I have a Honda and I got one of my Hondas, I got 210,000 miles on it and it's all, everything is original. So you don't really have to worry about that. Let's go back here a little bit. Lon's talking to somebody. How many miles on it? Lifetime fluid is nonsense. That's absolutely right. It's like when you see these ads today. It says that the oil is good for 1 year oil changes. Don't ever do a 1 year oil change. You do a 1 year oil change, and inside of a couple of years, that engine is going to be knocking and banging, and you'll wind up, having to throw an engine in there. The problem is today is a lot of times people don't keep a car for a long period of time. If you're keeping the car for a short period of time, it doesn't really matter that much because you're going to get rid of it every 2 or 3 years. But if you plan on keeping the car for an extended period of time, you want to change your oil. I do on my own cars. When it was non-synthetic, I used to change my oil religiously every 3,000 miles. Now that I use a synthetic oil, it says that you can go for like 7,500 or whatever, 5,000 miles, no matter what, I change the oil, and that's a full synthetic. So, all right, what do we got going on in here? Let's see. Lifetime fluid. Did the North Star engine become reliable? No, not really. The North Star has been nothing but trouble. I mean, it was a great theory, but it really didn't. not as dependable as you would think. Usually, a lot of these North Stars, they wound up with antifreeze leaks on the back head, and usually it's not very good. Um, Oil changes 3,000 miles religiously. That 3,000. That's exactly what I did, Gerald. Every 3,000 miles, I would change the oil no matter what. I used to have people coming into my shop, and this one customer in particular, he never listened to what I said. And I remember it was a Hyundai Accent. And he comes into my shop, and I change the oil, and it says to him, you have to change this oil more frequently. He said, yeah, but I only have like 1,000 miles on the oil. I said, yeah, you have 1,000 miles on it, but it's in the car for over 3 years. I took the cap off the car, and I showed him the cap. And the cap itself, it wasn't even oily. It was actually white. It looked like chocolate milk up in the top of the cap. I said, that's why you have to change it. That moisture in there will kill your engine over a period of time. He didn't listen, actually. And then, when he came in for his oil change, whatever period of time, you could actually hear like knocks in the engine from the oil being no good and damaging all of the components inside of it. I don't know whatever happened with the engine, because the guy passed away and the car was gone, and I haven't seen it again. But I guarantee that engine is no longer running. I guarantee that engine burnt up for sure. All right, now I just want to. I know we talk about a lot of things here, but I do want to talk about a couple of other things. I had a couple of my subscribers that asked me a couple of questions here, so I want to try to do a couple of questions before we call it night. And this is, let me just think. Okay, I have this is a Chief the King. That's his name. I have a 97 Honda Accord, and while I was driving, the driver's side ball joint broke off and the axle fell out. I'm not sure if the lower or upper ball joint, but my wheel is bent to the right and the top tie rod and control arm is still connected. It's the bottom right under the rotor that is loose. Please help. If the ball joint broke while you were driving, it's going to be a little bit of a problem, because what happens is the ball joint breaks. It's going to be a lower ball joint. It happens all the time. When you have a wheel and it's up like this, the strut connects up on the top. The strut goes up to the top of the body of the car itself. The lower actually has the ball joint in it. What happens is the ball joint breaks on the bottom. You hit a bump and the wheel pushes out. When the wheel pushes out and it pulls out, the tie rod end obviously is still connected, so the wheel twists and it turns in. Even though you're steering with this side is going to be crooked. Now, the problem you run into is when that wheel pulls out like that and breaks, the ball joint on the bottom pulls away, your axle shaft will pull out of the transmission, and you may pull apart the inner tripod. And if the inner tripod is pulled apart, you're going to have a problem with the tripod. So my recommendation is, one, depending on how fast you were driving when it broke, you want to check your axle to make sure your axle is in good shape. If the axle looks good, you want to make sure that your inner tripod is in good shape. And then obviously you're going to have to change the ball joint. What I would do is I would not change just the ball joint. I would change the lower control arm at the same time, because chances are if that ball joint broke and that arm came down, something hit it, may have bent the arm back. So it's just a few bucks more if you get the whole assembly. So I would absolutely change the lower control arm, which comes with the new ball joint, and be real careful with that axle, because chances are that axle itself is probably going to be no good as well. And then after you get it put back together, then you're going to have to get a wheel alignment. All right, this is another one of my subscribers. I'm not going to read his last name. First name is Rick. It says, do you have to support the weight? Do you have to support the vehicle weight when doing this, or can you do it without any jacks or stands? Thank you. What he's talking about is stabilizer or sway bar links. Do you have to jack the car up off the ground to do the stabilizer links? No, you don't have to jack it up. The only thing is it's going to be more difficult for you getting underneath the vehicle to work. So I would recommend getting the wheel up a little bit so you have more room to get underneath there. If you have adequate room to get underneath there to work, then by all means you can do it without having to take the weight off of it. Just undo the stabilizer link and replace it with a new one. So to answer your question, no, you do not have to jack it up to change the stabilizer links. I don't know what kind of car it is, but you should not really have too much of a problem with that. It should come off. Okay, here we go. This is Robert. I'm not going to say his last name. Can a bad thermostat break a radiator? 2000 Honda CRV. Yes. If you have a bad thermostat and the vehicle overheats, what's going to happen? Today radiators are made of plastic. And what happens, and I see this all the time, where a car runs hot. When a car runs hot, if you take care of it right away, you can repair it and it's not a problem. The problem is when a car runs hot, it builds up a lot of pressure inside there. When it builds up the pressure, the tank itself is made of plastic, and this is the outside part of the tank. I'm Italian, so I have to talk with my hands. The outside part of the tank is made of plastic. What happens when it gets hot and it starts to expand, the tank itself expands a little bit. Maybe not as much as I'm showing you, but it does expand a little bit. And then when it cools off, it contracts a little bit. And if you continually do that, if it expands and contracts over the period of time, you're going to develop cracks inside that plastic. And it happens all the time where a car is running a little hotter than it should be, and then it winds up that the thermostat was the problem. But after driving it for a period of time, now the thermostat is not the only problem. The radiator is then the problem as well. So to answer your question, can a thermostat cause the radiator to fail? Yes, it can. So you definitely want, if you have a bad thermostat, change the thermostat before it destroys the radiator. All right. This one's a little bit long, but we're going to try to see what we can do here the best we possibly can. This comes from one of my subscribers. His name is John. It says, desperately need help. Have you or anyone in your forum ever encountered a power window that works going down but not up? The problem is, I think this, it's a 2005. I wasn't sure of the year. 2005 Toyota Corolla. The problem is with the front passenger door. The problem is with the front passenger door, and acts the same whether I use the passenger side switch or the driver's side switch. So from either switch, it doesn't work properly. It'll go down but not up. I had a mechanic replace the motor and the regulator arm. Same thing happened as the original. So he replaced the motor and the regulator, and the problem is still there. Then he tested the original motor on the workbench, and it's fine. He tried connecting other switches from other working doors, and it did not work. The wiring is getting power too. So no problem with that either. Can't solve it. The problem is the original motor only powers down. Troubleshooting. Okay, any advice? Thanks in advance. It's a 2005 Toyota Corolla. I will tell you this, if you already changed the motor and you already changed the regulator and you put in a working window switch itself, then your problem is going to be in the wiring. What I would do before you go crazy doing anything is get in by the motor, and on the motor itself, you're going to have two connectors on there. Now I'm talking inside the door itself. You're going to have two connectors on there. Open up the door, take you want to back probe both of these connectors on the back. Take a pin and you want to slide the pin in where the electrical connector goes in, the wire goes into that harness. Slide the pin in through here and slide the pin in through here. If you don't have the pin for properly testing it, get a paper clip, a very thin paper clip, open it up, and you can use that. Now this is with the car in the off position. Slide the pin in through here, in the back, and in through here. So now this is the motor here, and this is the electrical connector here. You put the pins in the back, and then what you'll do is you'll take both of these pins, bend them out away from the door so that nothing is touching it, and the two of them cannot touch each other. What you're going to do is you're going to take your test light, and you're going to connect one end of your test light on here, and the other end of your test light on here. Turn the car to the on position, put your switch to the up position, and see if the light lights up. If the light lights up, that's a good thing. Now take the switch and put the switch to the down position. And when you put it to the down position, that light should light up as well. I know what's going to happen is you're probably going to put it to the up position. I think it was up was the problem where it worked properly, but down. Okay, it goes down, but it does not go back up. When you press the button to the down position, your test light is going to light up. When you press the button to make it go back up, your light is most likely not going to light up. I'll bet you I'm 99.9% sure that your light is not gonna light up. So that means you're either missing power or you're missing ground to that switch for the up position. So now what you need to do is you'll need to find out what you're missing. Are you missing positive or you're missing negative? I got a feeling you're probably going to be missing your ground. You're going to go back inside where the door closes into the body of the vehicle. You open your door this way here, right in here, where this wiring comes through the door into the body itself of the car. Inside here, you're probably going to find a broken wire. So when your door is closed and you open the door up like this, right here, you're going to see a small piece about this big, and there's going to be a wiring harness coming through there. Most likely inside there, you're going to find either a broken positive or a broken negative wire inside that door. So open that up, take a look inside there and see which one you're missing, and you'll see what color the wire is, and then you'll know what the break is actually. But you're going to find it's going to be inside that piece in between the door. I see my buddy Wyatt's in here. Good to see you. I hope all is well. Yep, got a lot of my regulars in here. Wyatt, you missed Keith before. He was here for a short time. He stopped in to say hello. I haven't seen Mike. I know Mike is usually in the background someplace watching what's going on. Mike and Helga. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Okay, so that's that. Hope you can get that straightened out, John. Keep me posted if you need more help. Let me know. But that should be a broken wire someplace. What else we got going on here? Yeah, but you know why? What they say, better late than never, right? Oh God, good. I'm glad to see you. I got to give you a call one day. We have to catch up a little bit, Wyatt. I haven't talked to you in a while. So maybe I'll text you next week and see where you are and if we can talk a little bit. Thank you, Lon. You know what, Joe? You're right. Where's Joe? I don't have my phone. Mrs. Jimthecarguy has got my phone, but Joe hasn't been here in 3 weeks. I don't think he was. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. He did stop in for a little while last week. So he was here last week for a little bit. Oh, you're home this week? Oh, good. All right. I'm going to give you a call during the week if it's okay. I'll text you just to see if it's good to talk, and then I'll catch up with you. I've been going crazy. This week is a little bit busy for me, but I will catch up with you, Wyatt. Yep, I did see him in here last week. Okay, what else we got going on here? This is one of my other subscribers. I'm not going to say his last name. First name is Mike. 2002 Hyundai Elantra, and he says, "Hi Jim, mine rusted out in the exact same spot." Let me just remember what this was. Oh, okay. Hi Jim, mine rusted out in the exact same spot. Would it be possible to just cut off the rusted area? Maybe that would save over $100 and also save us from dealing with the tight area near the rack and pinion. Thinking of using a 6-inch of 1/4-inch brake line to attach the hose. And I'm actually, it's a lot more detail going into this. And Mike, I don't want to be rude or anything, but I'm going to give you my opinion. And this is what I would do if it was mine. I would absolutely not cut that hose off and put in that piece of 6-inch, 1/4-inch brake line in place of it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to put that brake line in there, even though that brake line is going to fit nice and tight inside that rubber part of the hose. There's such a tremendous amount of pressure that's built up in that hose. It may not leak today and it may not leak tomorrow, but one day you'll be driving, you'll go to turn the wheel, that high pressure is going to come through there and it's going to blow the line right off, and you're going to wind up with that power steering fluid over everything. It is a little bit tight getting in there, especially down by the rack and pinion. itself. It's a little bit tight, but if you spray it up with some good penetrating oil, it will come out. Just make sure you use the right size wrench on it. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was an 18 millimeter, so it was a fairly large nut that's on there. But absolutely change it. Don't try altering it at all, because altering it, you're gonna have a little bit of a problem with it. All right, I saw something about AMX in here. I'm going to go back to that because I know my buddy Joe is working on the AMX. He's here last week. Actually, yeah, you know what, Wyatt? Lon did beat you. Lon was here before we even actually were online. I was actually talking to him before I even started. Joe is Nat says Joe is pouting about the AMF. Yeah, everybody knows about the AMF that Joe was working on. That was a cool car. You know, back in those days, I mean, the AMX, it's the same, the Javelin. It's actually the AMC Javelin. And that car, back in the day, that car was a fast car. That car came with a 390, and that thing was fast. We used to actually, when I was young and I used to work for somebody else, we actually used to take a car like that down to the track, down to Englishtown. We used to run a car just like that. It was the Javelin. Had a little bit of alterations on it, but that car was really, really fast. You know, one day maybe we'll talk about when I was much younger, and I worked for a guy back 40 whatever years ago, 40, 43 years ago maybe. We used to have a Javelin. We used to run down there. We used to have a Chrysler. We used to run. I had one of my friends who was at the gas station I used to work for. He wound up buying a rail dragster from a very famous person. And we'll talk about that too, and the adventures we had down at Englishtown with a rail dragster. You could have the best quality car, a very quick car, but put the wrong driver in it, and boy, it can be really catastrophic. We'll talk about that one day too. The days of, you know what? Let me make myself a note. Raceway Park was called. Okay. All right. Next week we're going to talk about Raceway Park. We're going to talk about that. We have a couple other things we're going to talk about next week too, because I didn't get to it today, but we will get to it and see. All right. This is somebody named Tim, one of my subscribers. He says, I have a hole in the front of my muffler, but I can't afford a whole new exhaust. Maybe mine can be pieced together too. Tim, I will tell you this. A lot of times when you get the older cars, that the exhaust system has been replaced, most of the time you can change just that one bad component. If it's welded together, then you need to change the whole exhaust system. It wouldn't be worthwhile to have somebody try to re-weld it for you. But if it has a clamp on it and there's a clamp around the exhaust, you can change just whatever portion of it broke. So yes, some of it can be changed. I have to see a picture of it, Tim. If you want to send me a picture of the part that's broken, I can tell you if it can be just replaced, or you need to repair the whole thing. So Tim, if you want to send it over, just email it to me. I'll take a look at it and I can let you know for sure if you can change it or you can't. But I will tell you this, even if you can change it, it's going to be extremely rusty and it's going to be a little bit difficult to do. But if you want to take a picture and send it to me, I'll give you my opinion. All right, this one comes from one of my subscribers. Sorry to be going so quick, but I promised a lot of people that I would actually talk about their problems today. This is Steve, and I'm not going to say his last name, but it's Steve. He says, I know you are a pro. Well, Steve, I can tell you that's not true. Just because I've been around a long time doesn't make me a pro. I know a lot of other guys who are much, much better. But thank you. But have you ever dropped any? Okay, I know where this one is going. Okay, Steve saw the video that I put up of changing the starter motor on a Honda 2006 CRV. And he says, I know you are a pro, but have you ever dropped anything down the intake? I noticed you didn't tape it off or cover it up. Just curious if you have ever had a problem or just feel comfortable that that if you do, you will easily fish it out. Um, Truthfully, Steve, when I have one of my guys doing a job, then I absolutely make sure that I take a rag and stick a rag down inside there so that things don't fall in there. But truthfully, when I'm working on it myself, I have my magnetic tray, and I usually take everything and put it in the magnetic tray so it has no possible way of falling down in there. If I was to leave the car for the next day or something, then I always cover it up. I'll put shop towels over the top so that nothing falls down inside there. But when I'm doing it, when I'm taking it apart, I'm putting it right back together. Most of the time, I don't. I don't stick any rags or anything down inside the intake or anything like that to keep any nuts or bolts or anything. The magnetic trays, they come in real handy. But good question, though. It's a very good question. All right, the last one is Roger. I'm not going to say his last name. Roger says, or asks, I should say, when I turn my air on, not only does hot air come out, the jumps makes us, it's a little bit confusing to read, comes out, jump makes a squealing noise, and the car hunches. What do you think? 2006 Nissan Sentra. I'm thinking that they're saying comes out, the jumps makes a squeaking noise. Okay, I'm thinking what they're saying is that when the compressor turns on and the clutch pulls in, it makes a squeaking noise and it's not getting hot. I would say most likely it's going to be a couple of things. One, either the compressor is going to be no good and it's not rotating, and the squeaking noise you're getting is the belt sliding around the pulley, but without hearing it or seeing it, it's a little difficult. So I will say this. Roger, if you want to take a small little video of the problem you're having and email it to me, I'll take a look at it and I can give you my opinion of what I think it actually is. So take a short video clip of it and send it over to me at my regular email, jimthecarguy1@gmail.com, and I'll take a look at it and I'll see what it sounds like and I'll give you my opinion of what I think is actually going on with it. All right, let's see. Let's see what else is going on. Do you guys own the... Okay. Wyatt X's question. I just touched this and it jumped all the way ahead again. All right, I'm just going to go back over here. Against the Pope. Message retracted. Message retracted twice against the Pope. I'm not sure what that's all about. It must be something. You know what? Message retracted. I'm guessing that against the Pope is probably saying something that we shouldn't be seeing, and I'm thinking that's just being taken out, blocked out, or taken out by YouTube. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Got a lot of people in here tonight. Can you help against? Not sure what that's all about. Why is he showing up as message retracted? I'm not sure what that's all about, but 18. Oh, I'm at a loss for what the question was, because on my end it's not showing up over here at all. It just keeps saying message retracted, so not sure what that's all about exactly. All right, I think we're going to call it a night. I think it's 8:25. Wow, I can't believe I wanted to talk about so many other things, but I just ran out of time here. All right, next week we're going to talk about, we already talked about the movie maker. I wanted to mention to you about that. I want to mention about the Mac. I had one of my subscribers asked me, what do I do for fun? And we'll talk about that next week because it's a little bit involved. There's lots of different things that I do. but we will talk about that. So next week, we're going to talk about one, Raceway Park. And back in the old days when I used to go racing down there all the time, haven't been there in a long time, but we will talk about Raceway Park. The other thing we're going to talk about too is like, what do I do for fun other than work on cars? We will talk about that as well. And I think that's it. I think we're going to call it a night. I'm glad to see so many people are in here and everybody's talking. I'm not familiar with that, Bill. I'll have to look it up. YouTube message here. YouTube message again. Hello, next week. Oh, that's right, Lon. Lon told me he won't be here next week. I'll be at work, so maybe I miss it next week as well. All right, Wyatt, I'm going to give you a call during the week if it's okay. I'll text you, make sure you can talk, and we just catch up a little bit. It's been a little while since I talked to you. I got to call my buddy up north in New York. I haven't talked to him or Mrs. O in a long time, so I'm going to give them a call too and see how they're doing. You know what? This week, I'm definitely going to call my buddy Eric. And if not Eric, I'll talk to Mrs. O and see how everything is going up there for them. I know I'm sure they were very busy over the summer as well. Lots of stuff going on. My buddy Nat says I caught a 4-pound channel catfish on 2-pound test line. Wow, that's pretty good. That's very good. I tell you the truth, Nat, I don't like catfish. I hate the slimy, slippery feeling of them. When I used to do a lot of fishing up in Pennsylvania, and I would go out on my kayak, and I always hated when I caught a catfish because it's so slimy and it's a pain. Yep, I agree with you. You know, we got to do that. Why? We got to get together where we just go up there just to have dinner and hang out, and it was a lot of fun. It was good to see everybody. Okay, all right. I think I'm gonna. Okay, I will do, Wyatt. Yeah, I will do. I'll text you first to make sure you can talk, and then we'll catch up a little bit during the week. Maybe I'll give you a buzz when I'm driving or something like that, so we can talk a little bit. And I might add, I don't use I don't talk on a phone. I do have it on speakerphone when I talk. So just so everybody knows, I don't break the law. I do talk with the speakerphone. All right, I just want to thank everybody for spending part of your Sunday night here, listening to me talk about stuff going on in the shop, and hopefully help a couple of people out. Like I said, anybody who has anything that send me a video clip of what the problem is, I can listen to the video clip and come up with some idea of what's going on, and that's it. All right, so next week we're going to be back here. We're going to talk next week about the back in, like, it was probably, I'm going to say it was the early 70s, and Raceway Park. We used to go to Raceway Park. We used to go up to Yorktown, Pennsylvania. Where else did we go? Island Dragway. That was up in the northern part of New Jersey, heading up Route 23. We used to go up there a lot. And a lot of the adventures we had back then. As a kid, it was a lot of fun. It's just that, being in your own business, I kind of ran out of time and I couldn't do that any longer, but it was interesting stuff. And I'll tell you some of the stories about some of the stuff that happened, back then. Very interesting, very funny. So we'll talk about that next week. We'll talk about what I do for fun, other than fix cars, because that's lots of fun most of the time. All right, that's it. All right, enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, thanks for watching. And wait, before I go, if you didn't subscribe to Get It Done, Home Repairs, or Home Maintenance, make sure you subscribe, because I have a couple of new videos coming up there as well. I'm trying to get that channel up over 1,000 subscribers. So, we'll see where that goes and how it develops. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.